That was a pretty amazing opening act. I'm here today to introduce the 2015 Carl Towley Award winner for JEA, JEA's highest honor. I didn't know this was a caveat of the nomination process. I learned that afterwards, but I'm very proud to do that. I wanted to talk about Sarah and three aspects of her life. If you know Sarah or have interacted with her in any way, you know that she is all about making connections with people, connection with students, connections with family. And she and I first connected 5 years ago when we shared this experience for me with the Dow Jones Award and her experience as the yearbook teacher of the year. I wanted to talk a little bit more about her journalistic life. She's been in the classroom advising for 17 years. She serves as her department chair. She first began working in Indiana, the Indiana High School Press Association Board. She then moved on to JEA's Northern California Board, including serving as the president there. As young as she is, she's worked on 3 national convention local committee teams in San Francisco, doing everything from critiques to t-shirts. She's been a member of the Certification Commission for JEA. She's been the state director for California, has worked extensively with the Scholastic Press Rights Commission, began the 45-word student partner group and helped with that, has helped to craft the Principal's Guide to Scholastic Journalism, the Press Rights Minute SoundCloud podcast that you can hear, has worked extensively with the Digital Media Committee. She's the JEA Vice President in her second term, where she has been the social media leader and has been integral in the spearheading of the curriculum project for JEA. She critiques and judges close to 10 organizations in the country, and also serves in her spare time as an adjunct professor for Kent State's online master's program. That's just her journalistic life. When I first started writing this letter, I said to myself, I've never seen a superhero in the journalism world who is this young and must clearly never ever sleep at all. Most impressive about Sarah, though, is to watch her interact and connect with her kids. She cares about them as adults, as fellow human beings. They are not a teacher-student relationship. They are a professional to a professional relationship. She and I have collaborated this year on a sister school project, and it's been phenomenal to watch our kids allow us to step back and take over that project and go coast to coast with their journalism. She would tell you she's most proud that her kids are being inducted into NSPA's Hall of Fame at this convention, and of their First Amendment Press Freedom Award, because they care so much about what they do, but more importantly, why they do it. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because they got that from her. Probably the most impressive part about Sarah is the person. She connects with people all the time, and what impresses me the most about her is she's always one step ahead of the curve. I feel like I'm trying to catch up with most of you guys in the room, and Sarah's creating those new initiatives that most of us want to be like. Her work ethic, her dedication to what we do, her dedication to her family, her practice, what she preaches, attitude every single day of her life are things that I aspire to be more like every single day. Mark Newton said in his recommendation letter, Sarah, you make us better. If she says something, the Bowen said in their letter, if she says something, if she commits to something, you're guaranteed that she will follow through. In her personal life, the magic of our profession, I think Casey also often says that she makes him better. I can't imagine a more dynamic duo of journalism educators, but in his world and in Carson's world, she is so very, very important. And so I'd like at this time, if any of you guys have ever made a connection with Sarah Nichols, whether that be a phone call, a committee, serving on some kind of commission, as a teacher friend, worked in a workshop, if you would stand up, please. Friend, that's a number of lives you've touched just in this room. I am so proud to present to you guys today the 2015 Carl Towley Award winner, Sarah Nichols. I can. Would you want to take a picture with Bradley? He don't want your butt in the picture. Or maybe he does, I don't know. I think he probably does.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Congratulations to all of you who have been honored today. And thank you for the opportunity to speak for just a few minutes. And I promise it will be just a few minutes. Every Tuesday morning at about 6:30 a.m., I have a breakfast date with Carson. And it's truly a highlight of my week. And one of the traditions we have at our breakfast dates is that we always take a selfie. So these are a few of those. During that time before school on a really busy week, we always just, make up silly songs, we invent things, we practice cursive writing, and we really just talk about things that we're going through. And so about a week, maybe 10 days ago, I shared something with Carson that maybe she could help me with. I said, I have to, talk to all my journalism teacher friends at this convention, and I'm not really sure how to approach it. And being who she is, right away, she had an idea, she had a suggestion. I don't know where she gets that. But she said, Mom, I've got it. You should do your speech with emojis. And I kind of looked at her and grinned, and she said, no, this is the best part. She said, no, emojis are relatable. So you can see that we certainly have our hands full, but this was her example to prove that to me. And so I thought, like anything, you don't just take one source, right? So I'm going to check another source. I went to my second favorite 8-year-old, who happens to be Alex Keekley, and it turns out he likes emojis too. So I thought, okay, maybe we're on to something here. I could maybe go with this. I had to figure it out. So I thought, okay, if I have this limited amount of time and I want to talk to some of the people who are so passionate about what we do, how could I translate our love for scholastic journalism and our love for our student media and advising and the culture we create? How could I show that with emoji? So it kind of came out like this. Emphasis on the pizza emoji, I think. But then I thought maybe it'd be funnier if I talked about how I felt about giving this speech today. You can figure out where the emphasis lies on that one. And then I decided to get serious because time was running out. And I thought, time itself is the best thing that I could possibly speak to you about. And these were the emojis that I chose to use because I think it's really interesting that time is a topic that gives us so much stress and confusion and frustration. And I'd like to maybe use our time together to address that in case there's something we could do to make it better. And as it turns out, I have an idea. I think it's weird that we always say, I can find the time, or if I could only find the time, or, oh, I can't find the time for that. Because it's really funny, there's 24 hours in every day, and we know that. We try so hard to find this extra time, knowing that each cycle will continue the 24 hours, and we look at all these management apps, and I used to read all these books on, efficiency and productivity and managing your life, and I'd make all these lists, and I even actually had a Google Doc called the 25th hour, so that if I ever found the extra time, these were the other things I wanted to do, or the articles I wanted to read, and I kind of saw the light. So I'm hoping that instead of asking that question, we could agree to let go of that unattainable 25th hour. We really know how much time we have. So if we could just embrace the 24 hours and maybe reshape how we think of those hours, we could get more out of them. And by more, I mean better. So that's kind of what I want to focus on. I have this postcard on my bulletin board in my home office, and I look at it all the time. And it's just such a good reminder. I guess I need to keep reading it, but we'll never have more time than we have right now. And if we can be aware of that and really focus our decisions, live with purpose and intention, it doesn't matter about having more time. It matters being really pleased with the way we chose to use it. So we do what we can, right? We figure out we have these 24 hours, how can we use them? And I am so proud to be in this room with all of you because I think as a community, we actually do a pretty darn good job. I mean, you heard about some amazing people today and how they've used their time, in some cases for 40 years in our profession. That freaks me out a little bit. I have a long way to go to get to that 40 point. But we do a good job, and so I apologize, but some of you are going to have to stand again. I didn't know Val would ask people to stand, but I would like you to stand for me. So play along here. Please stand up. If you have served on the JEA board, currently or in the past, please stand up and stay standing. I'd like you to stand if you presented a session at this convention or at any other JEA NSPA convention ever. I'd like you to stand up if you've ever judged a write-off contest. or contributed to CJET, our magazine, or JEA Scholastic Press Rights blog, or the Digital Media Committee blog. If you would stand up, please, if you're a JEA staff member, or if you have been. I'd like you to stand up if you serve on a committee, especially if you chair a committee. I'd like you to stand up if you're a mentor. And I'd like you to stand up if you're a mentee. That's just as important. I'd like you to stand up if you've ever helped another advisor by returning an email or plea for help or sending a lesson plan because you saw a question on the JEA Help listserv. Okay, maybe sit down if you shared the current events quiz or if you just wrote "me too." But everybody else, you're good. We appreciate you. There are probably many other people serving our profession and volunteering and giving their time and energy that I've forgotten to mention, but I would like to say thank you to all of you standing right now, and I'd like us all to give you a round of applause. You can go ahead and sit down now. I have learned something from every single one of you who were standing, and I so appreciate you because you gave something to JEA, and that's what matters in how we use our time. It doesn't matter how big or how small you chose to measure it or how someone else defined it. The idea is that you made a difference to our community, and that made other people stronger, and in turn, we were able to make our students better and stronger, and that is what we are here to do, so thank you again. When we're passionate like that, as all of us in the room are, it's definitely not a task, right? We don't look at it as something we have to do. It's just participating. We're just doing what we do, right? And I loved that message that Andy shared in the keynote on Friday, because one of the things he said was, if it feels like a job, get out. You know, if it feels like a chore, you shouldn't be doing it. And I feel so appreciative that when I get a chance to work with all of you, we never feel that way. We feel like this is a gift and an opportunity, and I'm so grateful for that. So the thing is, if we do have those warm, fuzzy, good feelings, how come we're still stressed about time, and how come time is still kind of that confusing negative topic, right? There's certainly something we could do a little bit better. And I have a few suggestions. I think it's kind of that busyness attitude, and I'm not quite sure when this happened, but it's like busyness has become a badge, and it's like a competition to see how many things you can list that you're doing. And that's really not cool. So we need to stop doing that. That's kind of my encouragement. You know, if we spent a little less time talking about all the things we had to get done that day and all the things we had already gotten done and how are we going to be able to do all these things, we could probably do better things in that time that we saved. And I'd like us to think about that. It's certainly not a competition, and I know nobody wants to see our to-do lists. Nobody at all. They don't mean anything to anyone except ourselves, right? Especially when it comes to service. Serving is what we do when no one's watching. And we will never truly know the times that we make the most difference. I guarantee, even just today, the comments that Val shared, which were so kind and generous, the part that really choked me up is probably not the part that she would have thought would mean something to me. Because we don't know, and that's the point. You know, it's not about when other people are watching or listening. So we want to make sure each of you in the room feels like it's okay to do what you can. It's not a competition or a comparison. Whatever you like to give to our profession is the right amount. It's the right thing. It's the right way to make your mark on a student or a program or a committee or a session or a convention or a New Voices bill or whatever it can be. It's just right. You don't have to worry about if you have enough time to do it. The time that you're giving is the right time. What I care most about is that each of us, when we make the choices we make them 100%. And that we choose in that hour of time or week of time or year of time that we're fully present in every single thing that we do, right? That we're giving ourselves completely to something. And right along with that, I mean tasking. It's the opposite of multitasking. If we could just focus our energies, the people or the things that we're focused on, I hope they're people, not things, but they will be so much better as a result. I've been sharing that idea in different ways with my students for about 2 years now. I call it, well, I don't call it, I read it in a book, but it's the one thing philosophy. And the idea is that what one thing could we or should we channel all of our energy toward that would truly make that difference? And if we are able to channel ourselves in that way, we're so much more successful than doing all these other crazy things at the same time. And then that one thing comes off the plate because we nailed it and we're able to elevate something else to that status. I know that sometimes we're able to have these items over here as our one thing, and that's truly amazing in JEA and in scholastic journalism when it's a project or initiative that we all come together on and we feel so good about. But I think it's really important to understand that sometimes that one thing is on a totally different list. And some of the people in this room are focused at this moment mostly on a family member, or caring for someone with a health challenge, or conquering your own health challenge. Maybe a change at work, or fighting to save your own program rather than helping someone else's. You know, maybe going back to school or learning something new, or even something completely off the wall, like the next adventure that life is holding for you. And that one thing is just as important. It is the one thing for you at that time, even if it doesn't relate to any of us here in the room. Sometimes that one thing is getting on an airplane for 12 hours of travel so you can spend 1 hour with your grandparents, because your grandparents are 99 years old, and in that 1 hour you want to play skip-bo with your grandma and have a martini with your grandpa, and that will be your one thing, and you will choose it every time until it's no longer a choice. For me, these are my grandparents, and that has been my one thing. They live here in Florida, and I wasn't able to see them on this visit. They're about 3 hours away in the Bradenton area. The convention was my one thing, as it turns out. But I wanted to acknowledge them today because I've learned so much from them, and I wanted them to know that they have inspired me in ways that they probably don't really get to see. My grandpa is 99 and my grandma is 89, and if you would just do me a favor and clap for them, it would be really awesome. Every time I get on a red eye and come to Florida for a few hours to visit them, I don't regret it one bit. And fortunately, my husband supports that and helps foot the bill for that because it's kind of expensive to do that, as it turns out. But I don't ever regret it, just like I don't ever regret giving up my lunch to talk to a student or giving my lunch to the student. And I know you don't either. I don't regret those extra hours at school or staying with a student who wants one more time to look at a layout or a story or a whatever. I know that those are the things that really matter in that moment, just like I never regret going to the gym, and I never regret playing dress up with my daughter, and I never regret being tired the next day after a concert because I really wanted to go to that concert, even though it was a Tuesday night and it was 2 hours away, and now I'm like going to school tomorrow and it's late night. I hope that you feel that same level of like okayness, that you're not regretting any of your choices because they were the ones that mattered the most. You know, those things in your inbox, they are not going away. They will be there forever. These are like regular days, right? We all have this. This is not a comparison. You have these same numbers or probably much higher, but they will be there for us. So make sure that you feel good about those 24 hours and how you spend them, right? Do the things that matter most, not just lots of things. So I couldn't do these things that matter the most without really supportive networks in my life, and I want to take a minute to thank those. And first and foremost, of course, is my family, because at home, my husband and my daughter enable me to be the crazy person that I am, and they support me and love me unconditionally, and I am just so lucky that I have that in my life, and that they juggle with me to these interesting opportunities that I sort of create and force into our world, because it is a world of three, and I'm so, so grateful and lucky for that. So thank you. I also am grateful for my other family. Our second home is C2, that's my classroom. And I knew better than to put a picture of my students in this slideshow because I would really lose it. But today has been a really awesome day with my students. Some of you know I started coming to conventions as a high school student a long time ago. And today, my 3 editors-in-chief presented a session, and that was the first time that my own students had done that. It's so awesome. Please encourage your students to do that and sit in the front row and just cry like I did because it was so, so great. There is no better validation than when you see your kids teaching others what you have worked so hard to teach them and see that they get it and that they did it better and they made something more of it than you even tried to make. So I thank my students. Most of them are at the airport right now leaving, but a few will be with me again this afternoon. So I thank them. I also want to thank Kelly and Mark because there is no better team to work with and no 2 better people leading this organization. They are the smartest, most driven, kindest, funniest, nerdiest people that I've had the opportunity to work with. Funny and nerdy, we'll put it that way in case there was any confusion at all. But I have to tell you, they not only support me and listen to me and tolerate me, but they make me better, and it's so positive to be in that kind of working situation. I also want to thank my friends, which include many of you in the room. I'm not going to name you, I just want to love on you later and let you know that, excuse me, I want to let you know that this is how we met. It's not why we're friends, it's just how we met. And I'm so grateful that you're in my life in so many special ways. And, you know, on Netflix, if you stay on till the end, it's like kind of fun to watch the credits. And so these are actually my friends' names in Chinese. I really did use Google Translator, but it sounded really funny when I did it. And then when I rehearsed it, it didn't seem funny anymore. But that's what happens, right? I'm not a funny person. So, you know, the gifts that we give each other are so much better than the gift of time. I think that the relationships that we all have with people are way better than that 25th hour that doesn't exist. And so that's kind of my parting thought is, you know, if we were more purposeful with our time and we really knew why we were using it in the ways we wanted to, and we had the support from the people who love us and let us be us, we get some momentum when that happens. And I think that that's when, instead of the do what you can, it becomes more of the what can we do? And so that's kind of where I'd like to leave us, because I think we have plenty to choose from. I think there's a long list of things we want and need to do. And I was reading about Carl Towley and what he did, and it was kind of amazing and kind of crappy because it's the same problems we're trying to fix right now. And some of the things that he wanted to do through his letter writing and outreach and the groups he was forming are the exact same issues we're facing. So we need to kind of join forces on that, and that takes courage. So I hope that you will have the courage to speak up and to speak out so that we can collectively have a little bit of strength with that. And that means courage in a lot of different ways. It might be courage to come to a meeting. It might be courage to grab someone's friend and say, hey, you know, grab a friend's hand and say, we're gonna do this. You might have the courage to write a letter, or to show up at a meeting, or to have a beer on someone's porch, because as it turns out, those are the ways that things really get done. You might have the courage to talk to a legislator, or to sign on to something, or to challenge the status quo. You might have the courage to, you know, blow up the model. That's one of my favorite expressions, because we need to do more of that. And I think that until we just keep pushing and keep getting louder, the list will still be there, and so we just need to make a really strong charge. And with that, I think we also need the courage to say no, because remember that protecting yourself and how you feel and your one thing is so critical that sometimes it's not just a yes, sometimes it's a no that really enables us to move forward. I have something for you, and I thought a lot about this. I wanted to do something, but then I realized, you know what, like, the best use of my time in this crazy time of year is to be with my students, because we're going to try to produce some media, allegedly. And the best use of my money, honestly, is the SPLC, because oh my gosh, they need our money. We are gaining some momentum with these new Voices Acts and the other things, and you know that the censorship is just hammering in. Even while we were here at the convention, a panic button request came through from a school in Michigan. So I didn't do anything that cost time or money, so don't get too excited. I'm just giving you my phone number, which I know sounds kind of weird, but here's the thing, I'm giving it with my promise, because if you have an idea or a question, I want to hear it and connect you to the right person. If you want to be involved, I want to help connect you to someone who can really celebrate and use your expertise, because you all have it. If you want to complain about something, I'm going to give you Kelly's phone number. I've heard it's on Craigslist, so you can find it there. But I know that sounds kind of weird to offer my phone number as if like, oh, you know, like a disclaimer, I don't have any answers and I don't have any money. But even better, at your table before you leave today, I guarantee there are people at your table who will give you their number, because the best part about JEA is that every single person cares about you and cares about your success and the success of your students. And every single one of us should be giving our numbers to more people and to be dragging in other advisors so this room is full instead of half full, because there's a lot more we can do when we're together. And it's not about the time, it's about the support. When we have a focus and we have each other and that support, this is what we can do. We can use our megaphone, we can collaborate, we can boost our students in the ways that they are able to use their voices, and that impacts their schools and their communities, and ultimately that impacts our world. Thank you.